The first instinct for me was to get my belt off and to try and open the driver's door. I couldn't do that. The door was absolutely jammed shut, and then I just remember kind of slumping back into my seat. I was at that point, I was aware of Penny, who was making, you know, the most horrendous kind of moaning noises, really, which, you know, still, you know, stays with me now. And I remember holding her hand and telling her to stay with me. I don't remember any noise from the back. And then I must have slipped in and out of consciousness, really. I remember telling the guys that were tending to me to, you know, to look after Evey first, get her sorted out, and they said to me that she'd already gone.
I don't have any memories at all. I don't remember the accident. I understand I had a head injury, so I'd obviously hit my head either on the windscreen or the dashboard, I'm assuming. And I was put into a coma for, I think it was 4 days. Not that I remember, I don't remember anything at all. The only thing I next remember is being woken up and being told that Evey had died.
I had quite a decision to make on the Saturday, really. Obviously, I knew Penny was in a really bad way, and I know that they'd taken Evey to Southampton, obviously to get the expert help that they can give to her over there. And I had the decision, or I was asked if I wanted to go over with Evey. But at that stage, and I know it sounds fairly harsh, at that stage I knew that there was nothing that could be done for Evey. But I obviously knew that Penny was, you know, in bad shape, and I had to make the decision not to go over to see Evey. Part of me said that if it was that bad, I wanted to remember her as she was. Knowing what shape Evey was in, and that there was nothing that could be done. Obviously, I was then asked that whether or not we wanted to donate any of our organs. For me, that was quite a tough choice, really. I'd never, probably selfishly, never wanted to donate my organs. It's something that I'd never really kind of got to grips with. But I knew that Penny did, and I knew that Penny carried a card. And unfortunately, because, you know, Penny was in the coma then, I couldn't speak to her about it, so I had a decision to make. So obviously, knowing that, you know, Penny advocated it, then I obviously decided, yeah, you know, she should donate her organs. And it's something that we do take a lot of comfort from, is the fact that, you know, we've helped, or Evey's helped 6 other people out, really, which, yeah, is a good thing for us. I broke my pelvis in 4 places. I had fractured ribs and a fractured vertebrae, as well as massive bruising pretty much across the whole of my body. Went pretty much black. Spent pretty much a month in hospital, basically. Once I came out of hospital, I was in a wheelchair for 3 months before being able to get on crutches and maybe, you know, get a little bit more mobile. I had to have a bed downstairs as well. Obviously, I couldn't get upstairs. It's quite a tough thing to get your head around, really. You know, the fact that this, you know, one incident can have such an impact on a family. You know, it's little things as well. You know, it's not the major things that set you back or upset you. It's the little things. You know, being sat at the table for dinner and, you know, there's only 3 of you there. We could have had Ellie in the car as well. We could have lost both of them. Our family could have lost all of us. That's what it looked like when people that first arrived on the scene. You know, it looked like there was going to be 3 dead people in that car. Obviously, you know, we lost Evey, and we take a crumb of comfort that we knew she went pretty much instantaneously. So we know that she didn't suffer. That you know, gives us some comfort. But you know, why be so selfish to put a family in that position? We'll be like this for the rest of our lives. You know, we cry every single day. We have done since the crash. I can't see that stopping.
I was at home with my little girl. Alan rang me to say what had happened and that he was off to the hospital. And then later that night, Ellie and Alan's dad came back to stay with us. They came back and I just remember being quite cross because I felt that they were being really negative. Evey had been taken over to Southampton by air ambulance, and I just remember thinking, but she's gone to Southampton, she's going to be okay, you've got to stop this. And then I got Ellie off to bed, and it wasn't very long after the police knocked on the door to give us the news. Well, she should have had her mum and dad at a time like this. She came. There was no question. We wanted her to come with us, didn't we? And Neal was very happy for her to be with us. She slept in my bed with me, just in pieces, you know, just the shock. You know, we obviously did what we could. We talked to her. She just needed her mum and dad, really.
The thing that I'll never forget is the day of the funeral. Basically pushing my brother in his wheelchair up the church aisle to his 10-year-old daughter's funeral.
Just heartbroken. Just feel heartbroken. My little girl was very close to Evey, and it's her innocence and her questions that still, a year on, she wants to climb a beanstalk to go and visit Evey. And she blows her a kiss every night. And she asks when she's coming back. It's just not worth it. The way I see it, some people have a glass of wine when they get home from work to unwind, to relax. Why would you want to be relaxed behind the wheel of a car? Why? You need to be focused on what you're doing. You're getting into a vehicle. Your life is at your hands. Other people's lives are at their hands. You need to be alert. It's just not worth it. The devastation that this family have been through because of somebody's decision to do that is just, I cannot tell you the things that we've been involved in with Neal and Penny and the family over the past year, the conversations that we have had to have. You know, I had Penny and I choosing Evey's final resting place, just conversations with the mortuary, the funeral directors, having to tell Neal and Penny that they'd lost their little girl.
Organ donation, the list is endless.
There's just so much people don't see behind the scenes. And to getting in a car and driving again when something like that has happened. You know, I'm...
One of the biggest problems is I believe that people just don't think it'll ever happen to them, and they need to get out of that mindset because it does happen.
2 days before this happened,
Alan and I were talking in the kitchen, and there had been another accident on the island. And I said, that poor family, what they're going through, it must be terrible. And you hugged me and said, we're so lucky. And then 2 days later, we lost Evey. Luck runs out for some people.